Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! It's time! It's time, baby! Yo, what is going on, you guys? It's your boy King Sanders here, and we are back with another tier maker video. That introduction was honestly just me being so freaking excited. I'm so hyped that the Bulls are actually they're on a kind of a win streak. I know it's a small one, but they just won back to back, so they're almost 500, which is something that I don't think the Bulls have been for a long time. Now, I mean, it is early. Obviously, there's a lot of time for that to change. But for right now, I'm prisoner of the moment, and I'm liking the Bulls. Obviously, I'm like the biggest Bulls fan on the entire planet. So, because of that, I'm very stoked as to where we are. But I have another tier maker video. Obviously, in my opinion, I think one of the most important positions in basketball is the point guard, and then obviously the center. So I did those two first and second for that very reason. So now I'm going to be hopping into the small forwards, just because I feel like that's the next most dynamic small forward or position. Sorry, it's a little early. It's New Year's Day, so I do hope that everyone was safe last night. I hope that everyone had fun. I hope that you guys got to spend some time with family and friends, and I'm hoping that 2021 is going to be, bringing around some good vibes, going to be a lot better than 2020 was. Obviously, 2020 didn't start out necessarily too bad, but then all this stuff that happened, and we were quarantined for a long time, and it's kind of rough. So here we are. So we're making another tier maker video. I do hope that everyone enjoyed last night, though. But let's get right into it. So first one that we have here is give me 1 second. Let me fix this. I had like S, like A, B, C, and D tiers. I didn't really want to do it based on that. I wanted it like how we usually do with elite, great, good, average, below average, etc. So now let's hop into it. First one we have is Anthony Edwards. I feel like Anthony Edwards has been a pretty good player so far, but I'm going to have to just leave him an average. He hasn't really done anything extremely well. He's just kind of a 3-and-D type of guy. And even then, his three-pointers, like I just saw him the other night, he actually popped off for a little bit. Hit like a couple threes back to back to back, I think. But for the most part, he hasn't really done anything super well. His defense is pretty good, but his shooting's still kind of iffy, and, he's just eh. So I guess that goes the same kind of with Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic is going to I'm going to put Bogdanovic in good, because Bogdanovic has the capability of scoring, 35, 40 in a game, whereas Anthony Edwards, I don't foresee him scoring more than like 25 per se, which is probably going to be like his ceiling for a while. But Bogdanovic, funny story, so with two of my good friends, Brady and Ryan, we actually went to a game when he was on the Pacers, and it was the Timberwolves versus the Pacers. Wow. And we actually got to watch Karl-Anthony Towns dropped 50, and I don't remember I think it might have been a little bit more than 50, and Bogdanovic dropped 44. So it was a very good game to watch. I really enjoyed it. I can't remember if it went into overtime or not, but it was really close the entire time, because obviously they were just trading buckets back and forth. And he's actually a pretty good player. His defense lacks a little, but Bogdanovic can score the ball really well, and he can handle the ball really well. So Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram this year has definitely been an elite player, but overall, do I really want to put him in elite? Because his defense is really, really bad. Yeah, we'll put him in elite. He did win Most Improved Player last year, and to be completely honest, like I said, he won Most Improved Player. He's an automatic bucket. Like he can go pretty much on any roster or against any team and drop like 35. like every single game. Dude is going absolutely crazy this year. He can handle the ball well, obviously shoot the ball well, finish extremely well. So with all those things, I mean, yeah, he definitely deserves to be an elite. I don't know why it took me so long to think about that. Danny Green's average. Another 3-and-D guy, just like Anthony Edwards. The odds of him going for 30 are very slim. His defense is good, but but he's also only 6'3", or no, maybe he's a little taller than that. But he's not like super tall, so he's all right. I'm not sure who this is, but the thing is for the Hawks, like they change around their small forwards so much that it's actually pretty difficult to pick just like one starter for them. So give me 1 second to see who they got. Okay, so according to this tier list, they have it as DeAndre Hunter. I don't think that DeAndre Hunter starts anymore, or if he does, it's not very often. Sometimes they throw in Cam Reddish as small forward. Now they got Bogdanovich, so sometimes he can run the 3. So it's kind of a mess over there in Atlanta in regards to who they're actually trying to run at small forward. But we'll go with DeAndre Hunter. Honestly, I'm going to put him in below average. And I think that's part of the reason why he keeps getting switched out so much is just because he is a little bit below average. His defense is pretty good, but he just can't really score. Kind of a 3-and-D guy per se, but his 3-ball isn't really that good. He's more of just a defensive guy, so I don't know. Don't really have too much to say about DeAndre Hunter. DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan. Oh, man. Because... So, I'm going to put him in elite. But let me explain. He is elite in regards to all the players that are on this list, that are on this small forward list, because there's probably only going to be, I'm just glancing through this, but there's probably only going to be 2 other players that are going to be in the elite category that I can think of. So, and I feel like he, in comparison to all the other players on this list, I think he's got to be an elite. He's obviously a pretty good ball handler. He can handle the ball if he has to. His defense is really, really good. Well, I guess I shouldn't say really, really good. That was a bit of an over-exaggeration. But he can slash with the best of them. The only problem in his mid-range game is pretty lethal. The only problem is he can't shoot threes. But, I mean, everything else he does at a very high level. So, because of that, I have to put him in elite. I can't really put him any lower. I mean, out of respect and out of like looking at this list, I just can't put him any lower than elite. So, Deni Avdija. This was one of my favorite players in the draft this year. I love Deni. I think that he's a great player for like his roster and for that class. But I'm gonna have to go average, just because him and Anthony Edwards are, you know, kind of at the same level at this point. They're both just kind of 3-and-D guys. Everyone was kind of worried about Deni not being able to shoot, but he's been really good this year in regards to shooting the ball. I might even be able to put him at good, just because his playmaking is very high. He can handle the ball really well, but I'm going to put him in average for now. Derrick Jones Jr. is going to be a good player for me. Derrick Jones Jr. is a player that he can play defense really well. He can also dunk, as you guys I'm sure have seen. His defense, if you guys watched that Lakers game, he actually played really good defense against obviously LeBron, who's one of the best players of all time. So he actually did play pretty good defense on him, and he's learned to shoot ever since he got to Portland. He's a very good corner sitter for them, so I kind of like where they're at with that. I don't know if he still starts or not. I would have to double check on that. But for the sake of this video, we're going to say that he does. And there's not really too much else to say. The only thing he doesn't do super well is like ball handling. Otherwise, he'd be a great player. But he's more of a corner sitter. But he gets, he can drive, he can shoot threes. So, and he can play defense. So between the three of those, I'd say he's a good player. Eric Gordon is the next one. He's an average. Don't really got to say much. He's very, very good from the three-point line, and he can play defense a little bit. But he doesn't do anything else super well, so I'm not going to spend too much time on him. Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward, in my opinion, is a great player. At one point, he was a tremendous player back when he was on Utah. Very, very good player. But he can just do a little bit of everything. He's just struggled with a lot of injuries. But his defense is still there, based off of everything that I've seen so far. His defense is still there. His shooting is still there. He can still drive. He can still handle the ball pretty well. So he just does everything pretty well. He's just not anything over the top. So, excuse me, I can't put it any higher than great, but I think he deserves to be there. So, Harrison Barnes, average. Probably don't got to say too much about him. Doesn't do a whole lot very well, but he does a little bit of everything. He actually is a pretty good rebounder for a small forward. So he gets rebounds. He does a little bit of playmaking duties once De'Aaron Fox and Halliburton are off the floor. He actually can shoot a little bit, can drive a little bit, so I'm not going to, once again, spend very much time on him. Next, we have Isaac Okoro. Isaac Okoro is going to be average for me, just because he hasn't proved a whole lot yet. He's a 3-and-D guy, and I think he's got a lot of potential to be a very good player. Probably a great player is his ceiling for me, but for now, he's just going to be an average. He hasn't proved enough. And he's also got part of the issue with Isaac Okoro is he's got Darius Garland and Colin Sexton who are going to put up like 30 every single night on his team. So, I mean, like with all of that, it makes it very, very difficult to put him any higher because we don't know what his ceiling is yet. Like, we just know that Isaac Okoro is a 3-and-D guy. We don't know what he could turn into, which is a huge issue. Okay, so the Magic here, they have James Ennis as the starting small forward. I don't think that that's accurate. I think that it might be... Is it Terrence Ross now? I would have to double check on that to see kind of where, or like what the depth chart is exactly. But I don't think he starts anymore. And for the main reason, kind of the same as DeAndre Hunter. I'd say he's a below average player. Doesn't do anything very well. If it was Terrence Ross, I'd probably put him in average or good. But because it's James Ennis, like he's gonna have to stick in below average. He's just not very good. He doesn't do anything very well. He's just another guy, Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown has honestly been starting to turn into a absolutely phenomenal player. I just think he needs one more year, in my opinion, to get to that elite tier. He is really, really good, though. Really good. And he's right there. The only thing is like, he's got Jason Tatum on his team, so we don't know what... Like, he went off the other night. He absolutely went off in one of their blowout games. But we don't know what his ceiling is actually going to be. So for now, he's going to be in great, but I think by the end of the year, he'll be an elite player. But that's just where he's at right now. Yeah. All right, so next we have Jeremy Grant. He plays for the Pistons now, and he's actually gotten to be really good. Obviously, he kind of had like a breakout, I'd say like a breakout playoff run with the Denver Nuggets, and he actually was really good on defense. And then he actually, ever since he came over to Detroit, he now is like one of their main ball handlers right behind Killian Hayes. And then He actually puts up a lot of shots now, and he's averaging a good amount of points. He's averaging a lot of rebounds, and he's even averaging assists. Like, he's literally doing it all. For me, he's going to be a good player. But by the end of the year, I could definitely see it being great. He right now, like I said, he's killing it. He's doing everything right. The only thing is like he is on the Pistons, so he's like the main guy. There's no one else, and half the time, I would honestly say like it's very. I don't know. I don't want to overlook things just because he's on the Pistons, but he's been a very good player this year. So Jimmy Butler, elite. His defense is elite. His ball handling is elite. He's kind of similar to DeMar DeRozan, to be completely honest. The only thing is Jimmy Butler can shoot slightly better than DeMar DeRozan, but not much. I'd have to look at their percentages, and I could be wrong by that, but that's just what I think. Joe Harris, my boy, he's a good player. Joe Harris is obviously a three-point sharpshooter, specialist by far, but he can actually play some good defense too, and his elite three-point shooting ability is what puts him in good. Like, his three-pointers just, like, it's just money, but he can also handle the ball a little bit, so that kind of separates him from just the average guys. I'm not sure who this is. I think is it Dorian Finney-Smith, maybe? That's who it looks like to me. We're going to go with Dorian Finney-Smith. I will actually... Here. Oh, well, I don't know. Let's see. Is that who it is? Oh, that is definitely not who it is. And who is...
Did you know that 70% of the soils on your clothes...
What the heck? Starting... Yeah, well, let's go with the lineup, sure. There we go. That's not Josh Richardson, is it? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe that is Josh Richardson. I guess I've always just seen him with a headband, and so I assume that was not him. But okay. Josh Richardson's a good player. He can slash, he can shoot, he can play defense. That's about it. But just because he does have those three aspects to his game, he's in the good category for me. He can play defense too. Yeah, don't really got too much else to say. Kawhi Leonard obviously is an elite player. If you guys are close to me, you guys know my take on Kawhi. But at the end of the day, he is an elite player. Very, very good. Can get buckets. Can play defense if he has to. Has been kind of like the primary ball handler because Patrick Beverley's terrible. So, yeah, I mean, he's an elite player. Yeah, I don't got much else to say. KCP moved himself up to good. If it wouldn't have been for last year, he would have been an average for me. But he had a really good year last year. So he's a really good 3-and-D guy. Fits in perfectly with their system. And does everything that he does pretty well. So Oubre, if we're talking about this year, below average. But realistically, Oubre is a pretty decent defender. Can get his shots up, can play make, so he's going to be in good. But yeah, if he doesn't step it up, he might have to be knocked down to average because he's had a really bad year. So I'm looking like subjectively just over the whole thing. But like he's got to step it up. He's got to step it up. Steph cannot do it over there in Golden State by himself. He really can't. Chris Middleton's a great player. He's not an elite player just because of the fact that, you know, he can't really be that second guy. He's always got to be like the third, fourth, you know, possibly even the fifth guy. You know, he can't. So Giannis is like the guy in Milwaukee. They had to bring in Drew Holiday to be that number two. So he has to be that. So Chris Middleton has to be that number 3. You can't be an elite player if you're the third best player on your team. You just, unless you have like LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Kawhi Leonard on the same team somehow, then you're not having 3 elite small forwards on your team. You're not. Next is Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson has had a good year, but I'm not going to get caught in prisoner of the moment. He's just an average player for now. Great shooting ability, great defensive ability, can rebound the basketball, can even slash and finish a little bit. But the problem is, it's just, he's average. Last couple of games have been a little disappointing from him, but I think once Ja Morant gets back and can facilitate the offense a little bit better, then I think he'll be a little bit better. Lou Dort, my boy. Lou Dort this year has actually been really good. He has been a very good 3-and-D type of guy, but he's also had the capabilities of being able to drop 30, which is actually crazy because it's Lou Dort. We're not talking about like I don't know, it's Lou Dort, but he's actually been really good, and the Thunder are not very good. So due to the fact of those two factors, you have Shea as your point guard, and then Lou Dort is there. He's a really good piece, so I like where he's at. Michael Porter Jr. for me. Shoot. I'm gonna put him in great. Michael Porter Jr. is one of the best offensive players in the league. In regards to like what his ceiling is. He obviously hasn't come close to that yet, but he is 6'10", can dribble like a point guard, can shoot very, very well. He can finish. He makes all of his free throws. The only issue about Michael Porter Jr. is, dang it, Zoe, is his defense. He cannot play defense to save his life. So, because of that, he is going to have to be just an elite player. All right, so we've only got a couple players left. This first one is from the Phoenix Suns. It's, what's his name? Bridges. So Bridges, for me, is just an average player as of right now. He's very athletic, very good on defense, can shoot a little bit, but he's just average. He can't really do anything exceptionally well. Just kind of an average player, in my opinion, anyway. All right, and then we have OG Anunoby. He is, in my opinion, a good player. The only reason why he's not in the great tier is just because, his defense is very good. He can shoot very well, and he can finish, but that's it. Can't play make whatsoever, and none of those things that I had mentioned are like, they're not like super over the top, like they're not over the top great. He can finish pretty well, but it's just not finish great. He can play defense really great is the only thing, but that's about it. And just because of defense, I can't really put him in great. So he's going to be right there. Otto Porter Jr. is not the starting small forward for the Chicago Bulls. So whoever made this tier maker, you need to change this. It is Patrick Williams, the rookie that we just got. But Otto Porter Jr. is an average player. I can't put him any higher than that. He is, and this is all non-biased, like I genuinely hate Otto Porter Jr., but he does not do anything good. He can shoot, okay. He can rebound, decent. Can't play a lick of defense to save his life, and he really can't finish that well. He's just a guy. He's a way overpaid guy, and that's just about it. So, not really much else to say. RJ Barrett is technically the starting small forward for the New York Knicks, which is very, very weird to me. It's just weird. I feel like he's a point guard, but they have him at small forward, so he's going to be a good player. He, like I said, he kind of plays like a point guard, so it's very strange to me. If he could get a jump shot, he'd be a great or an elite player for sure. But he just doesn't have a jump shot, so he can play defense. He can facilitate for his teammates. He can rebound the basketball pretty well. He can finish, but just can't shoot. And that's so many players' issues. They just got to learn how to shoot, man. Especially in a league like the one that we have today. So TJ Warren's going to be a great player, mostly just because of the bubble. If he takes a step back, which he already has at the beginning of the year because he's been injured, he could easily drop down to just a good player. But for right now, for the sake of this video, I would say he's a great player. His scoring is off the charts. He's kind of like a Michael Porter Jr. His scoring is just absolutely unbelievable. His defense is just not really there at all. But yeah, he can play make. He can shoot. He can finish. So, at a very high level. So he's great for me. So I do hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did like it, make sure you guys like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you guys know whenever I post. I am trying to post every single day. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This is King Standard signing out, and always remember, be a Bulls fan.